You're listening to Ep.1, Season 2 of the Grace to Lead podcast. And today I'm going to talk about what to expect on Season 2 for all of our podcast episodes, but also a few challenges I had as it relates to perfectionism and my inability to make some decisions for this season. So if you are a leader and you are in that spot where you may be having some challenges making decisions or even struggling with perfectionism, maybe you're thinking about your successes that once was instead of what's in your present right now, then you'll definitely want to keep listening. Enjoy! Welcome to the Grace to Lead podcast. I am Belinda Gaston, your host. And listen, if you are a woman who leads in the boardroom, the church, or your home, you are in the right place. On this podcast, you'll hear real conversations, practical insights, and biblical encouragement to help you lead boldly and walk confidently in your God-given purpose. So, are you ready? Let the journey begin. Welcome to the Grace to Lead podcast. I am Belinda Gaston, and welcome to Season 2. My intention was to start sooner. My intention was to have a great year, and I planned out all these episodes, but we're late. Now, let me tell you why we're late. There are a couple things that weren't quite right. And so as much as I talked about perfection, and last season we talked about progress over perfection, I got caught in the perfection trap. I was supposed to have new music. My son was working on new music. I was really excited to share with you all, hey, my son, the college student music producer, gave me some new music, and his class studies got really busy and he wasn't able to do it in the time that I needed him to do. So that was the first thing. Then I started thinking about, I need to create better content this season, right? Because last season we had what I think is a successful season. This season, I'm expecting us to grow. And so there were things that I wanted to do and new things I wanted to add, and it just didn't seem to be working. And so we were late. And so today I want to talk about that as an introduction to season 2. Listen, we're starting season 2 out with a bang. We're going to be adding some video content this season, so that's exciting. But let me tell you about this whole perfection thing. That's what we're going to talk about today really quickly. It's perfection. Perfection. I know that we talked about last season how important it is to keep moving over perfection. But can we talk about how as leaders sometimes, especially if you've had some success, that thing that you thought you were over with, for me it was perfection, can come back? And so I want to talk about that a little bit. There were a couple reasons why I think this perfection trap caught me even after doing 20 what I think are successful episodes, knowing how this all works. I've been here, I've done that, I found my rhythm, I'm like comfortable with the things that I'm doing. Why does it seem like perfection held me back this time? This happens to leaders all the time. So let me tell you what was going on for me. The first thing is comparison. Now, listen, I know we have talked about comparison over and over again, but I'm not talking about this time comparison of me with other people. I'm pretty comfortable now with where I am and who I am, even how I show up, like, locks, pink lipstick, and my t-shirt, that's how I am right now. And I'm comfortable with that. But the thing that I was comparing myself with was me. Listen, as leaders, if you have had success before, if something's gone well before, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the next season, in the next thing, it's easy to compare the now to the then, right? And so what I found myself doing was comparing what I thought would happen now to what was, I thought, exceedingly well then. And that happens. And as a leader, and when we are leading people, when we're leading in specific areas, whether you're leading in your business or corporate spaces, if you have had one success, and typically what happens as a leader is you have had success because that's how you got there, right? You were promoted because of the success. You started the business because you kept getting people wanting your advice. You started the ministry because God called you into it. And so something has happened that has been successful to to get you to this place, and you find yourself comparing yourself to the then. What if it doesn't work like it did the last time? Well, the last time I did this, so maybe I should do it this way. Well, what if people think differently this time than they did last time? What if the people I'm leading respond differently this time than they did last time? All those things become a comparison, and it can keep you from moving forward, right? And so that was one of the reasons that this podcast was late. I started thinking about, well, what if I need to be able to do it differently than last time, right? Or I did it this way and this worked, and changing it up it might fail. Like those are real talk. Those are things that I was thinking about. So that was the one thing. The second thing is decision fatigue. We talked about this the first season. So listen, if you are listening to the Grace to Lead podcast and you did not catch the first season, I need you to go back and listen to those episodes. You can listen on Apple, on Spotify, on I put them all up on YouTube now. You can listen on Google, wherever you get your podcast. This decision fatigue is real because what started to happen is as I was comparing myself to me, right? I started trying to figure out, like, mull over almost my decisions over and over again. I actually started replaying in my head each scenario of what could happen, right? What could happen if I did this? What could happen if I did that? It was ridiculous. And as a result, I just sat. And great things have been happening around me. Progress is happening in other areas. But for this particular project, I was stuck standing still. And so, wait, let me tell you some ways to get over this. So, let's go back to comparison for a second. Let me just tell you this. I encourage you to free yourself from thinking about what happened in the past. There's this saying that says, like, my only competition is me, or something like that. It's there's no competition but me. I'm my own worst competition, all this kind of stuff. The reality is that if you are a woman of faith and you have found yourself in a season that's different from the previous season, it's really easy to compare yourself to the season that was. And that's a trap of the enemy, right? And so if you find yourself in that comparison of thinking what used to be, mourning what was, thinking about how to top what used to be, I want you to break the cycle by staying in the now. What I did to move forward is think about the possibilities, right? This may not be the same podcast season as last season, but there's a possibility that this different thing could be greater. This different thing could be more enjoyable. This different thing may teach me something about myself that I didn't know. And so instead of focusing on the past, I wanted to focus on the future. And that's what I encourage you to do. If you find yourself in a place where you can't seem to make a decision, right? You're mulling over. And most of the time when you're in this place, you already know what to do. You've already prayed about it. God has already put in your heart, this is the step. But it's really more about our faith in God, our faith in ourselves, our belief system that holds us in this place of, well, I have to have it just right and I can't move. And so the easiest way to get over that is just to do something immediately. I am recording this podcast right now. It's about 6 in the morning. I actually put my makeup on this morning, at least the best I could, to get up and get dressed and do this podcast. And it was because I got up and I said, enough is enough. I have interviews already recorded for the season. These are the solo episodes that I needed to get done. And I just decided to get it done. And so here's a step. If you feel like you're in decision fatigue, take one of the options that you think is the best option and just move quickly. Moving in obedience quickly, it begins to shake up the momentum for you. It creates more momentum for you, but it also shakes some things up. And so I want to encourage you to do that. The other thing that may be holding you back is unrealistic expectations, not of myself, but get this. I was trying to figure out what y'all wanted as a listener. What are your expectations for season two, right? As a listener, what do people expect and how can I meet those expectations? I had to tell myself, girl, stop. Listen, I can't tell you what you're thinking and you can't tell me what I'm thinking. So all of this focus I had on what people were expecting was ridiculous. It's the same thing in our leadership journeys too. When you're leading a team of people, when you're leading a group or projects, there's an unspoken rule that the customer is always right. We are leading, we're servant leaders, and all of that is true. I don't think the customer is always right, but I do think that we are servant leaders. But there's also a point where you have to understand that you can't read minds. You aren't responsible for other people's expectations. Can I say that again? You are not responsible for other people's expectations. And so free yourself from that. We're not responsible for how people respond to what we do. We're not responsible for other people's perceptions or perspectives of a situation. We're not responsible for how other people feel, right? We've got it all wrong. And as leaders, if we can embrace that, it helps our leadership journey, but it also helps us to move forward. And so, this is season two, y'all. What you can expect this season is that we're adding some video content this season. That's exciting. Eventually, we're going to have some new music. I'm excited about that too. We have some great interviews lined up. I've already recorded some. They are amazing. So you'll have some interviews, you'll have some solo episodes, you'll have some video content. I'm also going to be giving you some tools and resources this season. So you'll be able to download those and take the information from the episode and use that. And I'm also going to be encouraging you. I want us to have a Grace to Lead community where we can engage with one another, where there are topics that you may want to discuss or people you may want to hear from that you can let me know and we can encourage and grow together. So that's what to expect. We'll still have our every week episodes. So please come back every week. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, I think it's Google Play, on YouTube. So you can find us, Grace to Lead, on those platforms. And we are going to have transparent conversation with practical tools and tips for how you can continue to lead with God's grace. Listen, this is about how we incorporate our faith in what we do. And while this first episode, I didn't talk a lot about God, I didn't talk a lot about the Bible, this is still for those women who are believers, who have faith and want to integrate their faith in how they lead. So I hope that you'll come back for our next episode next week. This has just been a brief overview of the next season. I'm excited about season two. Listen, tell your friends, tell your leadership girlfriends to come on. There's some great things happening on Grace to Lead, and you can always connect with us. Remember, you can get on our mailing list. I won't spam you, I promise, but it'll give you a way to stay updated. Remember, you can connect with me and the Grace to Lead podcast so that you can stay updated of what's new, what's happening. This is going to be a great season. Buckle up, Buttercup. I think that's what they say. Buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be great. Until we meet again, remember you are indeed Grace to Lead. Bye bye.